So I have a question about the need to introduce taxes that have many goals and that are not only like for revenue, state revenue, but also inequality and environmental taxation. I was wondering, how is it possible to have those three goals? Because often in practice they can be contradictory. Like for example, if we take into account the energy, how green and modern is a building, then often the people who are the less well off,
the value will be higher, and if you progressive, it will not.
And the advanced here can afford to modernize their building to pay less. So how do you think it's possible to
design such a property tax?
To have.
Yes, it is demanding tax. I agree that these goals are in some way, let me say, in contrast or something like that. But in general, as you mentioned, this part of such a property tax, it is possible to have, let me say, deductions for such an improvements of the building to be sustainable and green and in a line of all these policies in energy. Public policies. So it is possible, but it should be discussed, and if you have such an, let me say, improvements in the buildings, then it might be fined or as part of the defining tax base, or you can deduct such an costs or something like that. So I think there is way, of course, you will have then lower tax base and the income or the revenue will be lower, but in that case, of course, I think it is possible, yes.
I would like to ask about your opinion or general attitude. Do you think for the Central or Eastern European countries, idea of searching for taxing or basing the taxation of real estate on market value is a good way to follow up and to look forward, or not? Are you generally in favor of this system for this group of countries or not?
To choose to have a tax base defined as the value of the property is tax base, or you have tax base defined as the how big is that house or that property, then of course it is the tax base defined as the value of the property. But then the step further, it will be the market value or it will be rental value. The most countries, or not the most, but let me say in EU, I think it will be about 10 or maybe more, that is the market value. So that means that you should have regularly checking that if you have it in taxes.
That's
so
why
that
I was
will be
asking whether you see the way for
I
this
think it's
region.
not. Yes, it is possible, but it's not for our tax administration, because there is, of course, the other part of that story that you should have data and the tax administration and some other parts. So maybe in that part it will not be the market value.
Natasha has mentioned that EATLP Congress taking place in Bergen in 2025, and I'm honored that I will be the general reporter of this event. And we are discussing now the questionnaire, and Natasha was in the working group for this, and the tax base will be, I think, the most important issue. My opinion, from my experience from Europe and this part of Europe, if you have this low revenue or that low revenue we have in Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, also Croatia, it makes no sense to talk about value-based taxation because it's expensive. But these costs are relatively fixed. So if there is a political will to increase these property taxes and decrease some other taxes, of course, because we are not idiots and we don't want to pay more, so then we can start with some mass valuation, maybe, what will be pretty easy, because still, thanks to Marie-Thérèse, we have the cadastre. Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Austria, Croatia, Slovenia, is still the same cadastre started in 1970, I don't know what, 50 or 1750. And we have all information in the cadastre. We have all contracts in the cadastre. So we know the values. And it's easy for family houses, apartments, shops, and so on. It's pretty easy to have the mass valuation. And we will have troubles with big hotels maybe and football arenas and stuff like that. But we can do this. But there must be that political decision at the beginning. And if the politicians insist on very low taxation of property, let's use square meters or area-based system generally. Yeah. Generally, we have municipalities where they have 7 dogs, for example, and they are collecting €4 per each. And there is a specific lady that is also assistant to the mayor and doing accountings. And in free time, she is administrating this dog tax for 7 dogs in a year. Excellent job. So yes, there's similar experience, but with the competition on property tax, Czech Republic is still the winner. For such an apartment in my city, Brno, we would pay €27 approximately. And I have a family house and garden, and I know what is now the value because of the mortgage. And they state that the value is some €600,000. A small house, but prices are high. And I pay €36 per year for this property. So still, I believe that Czech Republic is winning this competition.
React to Michael's presentation. So that do not feel very sorry about the situation in Czech Republic. For example, experience in Slovakia. Our former Minister of Finance was a guy who once in the past said that the household accounting and tax return is made by his wife because he has no clue about that. So just that you know the situation, how it looks with the rulers who set our duties and govern our countries.
The topic of this research group was especially a kind of EU-focused research group. And my question is to the professor and to the other professors that could you determine a kind of strategy, a future strategy for the EU in connection with this, the tax? Whether is it a good thing, keeping the sovereignty of states, to determine, issue their taxes, and or maybe an alternative approach could be proper, taking into account the interests of the Central European nations?
It's a big question, but I will respond the following. I think the best strategy would be to leave as it is. That means tax sovereignty and tax competition between member states. I think it would be a wrong step, if European Union would start with harmonization of tax law or something like this. So I think that it is diversity of ideas, it's diversity of approaches towards creating business-friendly state and attract capital, and this is the way to do business. What EU can add to this sort of a market, I would say, to continue with this endeavorings related to combating tax fraud, combating tax evasion, illegal related information, and this kind of things. But nothing more.
That's true. Maybe we can add some cooperation, but it's very much connected with fighting these tax frauds. And substantive tax law, I think that the status quo is fine. And the alternative is global minimum tax. What is really helpful, not only for EU, but for all, let's say, developed and specifically developing states. And also for our region in this sense. So global minimum tax sounds good for me.
part of the tax sovereignty, of the national tax sovereignty? Because a little bit I think they are against, this approach is, it's good the sovereignty, but please determine this minimum tax over and over.
Yes, you're right, but the thing is that all states agreed, and yeah, there was just 2 or 3 states. Hungary was one, sure. But I mean, talking about 187 states and only 3 disagreed. That's brilliant. So that is something we maybe should work on, maybe to specify some aspects, and we have to take into account that there are countries with income tax lower than 10%, maybe, and Hungary is also one. I think I'm not very sure what is now the rate in Hungary, but it's pretty low. So 9 even. But this is the way maybe we can think about not only EU. We were talking in a restaurant yesterday evening that EU is maybe too how to say it, too tight, and the rest of the world is more free, and that's why the development is better compared to Europe. So maybe this is the way that we should cooperate also with other countries outside EU.
So just one update. It was October 2023. Now it's February 2024. In January this year, Slovak Republic received soft warning from the European Central Bank about this topic. I don't know if if in Hungary this is a known situation, but maybe yes, maybe no. The reality is that the boss of the ECB sent a soft warning to Slovakia when the ECB asked Slovak Republic and the representatives of Slovak Republic to abolish this constitutional regulation. Because from the point of view of ECB, it's not a human right and it's a monetary policy, it's the exclusive competence of the EU. Slovak Republic didn't react anyway till now, but we will see. So just no question, only one comment.
Is there any kind of policy relationship between Polish and the Hungarian central banks? Because inevitably, if, for instance, Poland would join the Eurozone, then there would be less room for maneuver not to join as having 2021-22 Eurozone members.
Proszę Państwa, tutaj właściwie teraz również jakby ten temat rzeczywiście porozumienia wraca ze względu na takie pierwsze zapowiedzi, które pojawiły się całkiem niedawno ze strony Czech, prawda, że rzeczywiście te dążenia do przyjęcia wspólnej waluty najprawdopodobniej będą przyspieszone. I rzeczywiście w tej sytuacji poza strefą euro, tutaj w tym naszym ścisłym terytorium pozostanie Polska i pozostaną Węgry.
This subject has indeed come back again and again, especially considering the recent developments in Czech Republic and if that is the case, indeed Poland and Hungary would be the 2 countries that are left without euro.
I dodam jeszcze jedna ważna kwestia. Jeżeli chodzi o Polskę, mimo wszystko należy zwrócić uwagę, że jesteśmy w tej chwili od mniej więcej 2019 roku w dosyć trudnej sytuacji, dlatego że ja mówiłam dzisiaj o pewnych zmianach w zakresie prawa, zmianach legislacyjnych, które, tak jak Państwo zapewne zauważyliście, nie dotyczą takich kluczowych kwestii, a raczej kwestii szczegółowych, prawda? Natomiast też trzeba zwrócić uwagę na to, że pewne zmiany w tym zakresie, które są proponowane, jeżeli chodzi o prawo polskie, dotyczą tak naprawdę sytuacji, kiedy Polska dopiero, powiedzmy, finalnie przyjęłaby euro. Czyli chodzi mi tutaj o to, że te zmiany legislacyjne, oczywiście te uwagi w zakresie prawa są znaczące, natomiast dotyczą jednak kwestii szczegółowych. To jest jedna rzecz. Natomiast druga sprawa, a propos takiego porozumienia, należy zwrócić uwagę, że niezależnie od niego Polska w tej chwili nie spełnia kryteriów konwergencji, co dotyczy przede wszystkim kryteriów fiskalnych i wysokiego deficytu budżetowego. W roku 2024 jeszcze nie mamy budżetu, to jest ponad 180 miliardów złotych.
The truth is that these questions or these amendments, they refer to really very specific questions and the specific matters. It is important to know, as far as the convergence criteria are concerned, that whatever are the developments, at the moment Poland is not ready to introduce the euro because it does not meet the convergence criteria, the fiscal criteria at the first place. In 2024 we still don't have the budget. So the planned public deficit for 2024 is 184 billion zloty. So now we're at 49%, but it will probably go up to 54%, and that means introducing or triggering many special procedures.